Hey everyone, Dr. Tam here with Rocky again, and today we have a special topic on the continuation of our diabetes conversation because there's so many people that are affected by it. You, I'm sure, there's without a shadow of a doubt, you know somebody with diabetes. So let's rock and roll, Rocky. What do we have today?
Right. And you're correct, Dr. Tim. So there are a lot of people who have diabetes and, they have so many questions, so many questions to be covered, actually. So you were actually a witness, right, to what diabetes can do to our body if, if left untreated, right? So what are I mean, I know that your grandmother had it. Is
Mhm.
that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what is the hardest part of having diabetes, and what are the complication of having diabetes?
So the hardest thing with diabetes is not just you, but also your family, right? Because when we look at what my grandmother went through the last 5 years of her life was she ended up in a wheelchair and ended with her foot amputated as well. And it's hard for her because she lived on the third floor and there are zero elevators on the third floor down. In her area in China, there's just no elevators. So getting her down the stairs is hard. It's like a three-person job, one standing in front of her, two standing alongside her, just to get her in and out of anywhere. So when we went back to China to visit her, it was really hard for her to go to a restaurant. And I believe the whole 2 weeks we were there, she only went out to the restaurant one time, and that was it. So that is definitely difficult getting around to the point where she was losing her balance and she lost enough balance and strength to her legs where she couldn't walk anymore, right? One of the big complications is having peripheral neuropathy, right? 70 to 80% of people with diabetes will end up with some form of neuropathy. There's just no if, ands, or buts around it. We had a patient this morning that came in with high A1C, and not only did this patient had diabetes, but he also had herniated disc. And
Mm.
when his lower back got better, well, his feet continued to tingle. This whole time, he thought it was just his lower back, not knowing that once the lower back got better, now the tingling is in his feet. Well, that's because of peripheral neuropathy, losing balance. His big thing was being able to play with his grandchildren. He's got eight or nine
Yeah.
of them, and he can't do that anymore. And he can't wait to get his life back. I really, really hope that we're able to help him.
Hmm. Right. And there are also some other complications like kidney and, your eye diseases, right? Those are going to come through as it gets worse, right?
Absolutely. And the reason being is
Hmm.
because when you look at why does everyone with diabetes eventually have poor vision? And that's because, well, diabetes eats away the blood vessels. It causes a depletes the blood vessels furthest away from your heart. And what's the furthest away from your
Hmm.
heart? If you look on the bottom, it's your feet. If you look on the
Your feet,
extremities, it's your
right?
feet and hands. But if you look up, it's your brain and your eyes, right? Because your
Hmm.
eyes have these
Hmm.
micro blood vessels, right? These very, very fine blood vessels around the eyeballs and everything else. If you are not getting enough blood flow, your eyes are not going to be getting enough blood flow. And then obviously, you will start to get blurry vision, and then people can lose their vision. I mean, it's a really, really sad thing to lose your vision. When you talk about the
Yeah.
kidneys, the liver, the pancreas, that's because your kidneys are working really, really hard just to just to filter out the sugars. But the other thing, the other side of it is neuropathy. There's also something called autonomic neuropathy, which can kill off
Hmm.
your colon, right? It can cause damage to your colon, kidney, liver, spleen, and your pancreas, let alone. And then eventually the heart and lungs as well.
Right. And that's the thing. For neuropathy, a lot of people don't realize, right, that they already have neuropathy until it gets worse,
Right,
right?
right.
All right. And a lot of our viewers, Dr. Tam, when they learn that, they have diabetes, they feel bad. Some even get depressed.
Mhm.
So they feel like there is basically no hope anymore. So is it really true that there really is no hope for diabetes?
In Western medicine in general, people say that there's no hope. But there has been a lot of nephrologist studies in different parts of Europe, in the US, and also Canada and Asia that has proved that with diet changes, exercises, and other interventions, that they have shown to have A1C levels come down enough to the point where technically the patient does not have diabetes anymore. Well, is it easier to come back the second time? Could the pancreas already have some damage? Yes. But is this something that's terminal where once you have it for life? No, I don't believe so.
Right. And what's your probably top two advice for people who learn that they have diabetes?
I would say the first advice is you got to really watch what you're eating because what you're eating got the person to be there, unless if they're type 1 diabetic or maybe they have another underlying problem that are not being addressed, right? So making sure that you're eating correctly is one thing. Making sure that you are exercising correctly, that's another, right? On top of that, when you put that together as you are talking to the medical doctor or your primary care physician about what you should be doing, letting them know that you're willing to make these changes, letting the people around you know that you need to make these changes because support is so important. Sometimes, well, most of the time, health is not something that is a one person game. It is a team sport, right? Say, for example, when we have patients come in, we always have them bring their spouse because, say, if the wife has diabetes, or maybe it's the husband, right? And if the other spouse cooks, okay? For example, if the wife has diabetes, but the husband is the chef, now what's going to happen is ultimately the husband gets to dictate what the wife eats, right? Because she doesn't cook and
Mhm,
he
mhm,
does. So if he doesn't understand why the importance of staying away from certain nightshade foods, which is like tomatoes, bell peppers, eggplants, potatoes, cayenne peppers, right? If he doesn't know why she needs to stay away from that, if he doesn't know why the sad standard American diet with pancakes, cookies, and muffins isn't going to work for
mhm,
her, right? Then
mhm.
she's not going to get better, right? We could be doing the best things that we could, using the best treatments possible for neuropathy. And if he's not on board, if the chef is not on board, it doesn't matter anymore because then it's going downhill from there, right?
Right. And I think that's the biggest thing about managing your diabetes, right? It's getting the support that you need from the people around you and watching your diet and watching your exercise. And a lot of people always talk about food in general, right? But sometimes we miss talking about the what we drink
Right.
basically, right? And there's a lot of sugar, even for those drinks that say no sugar added, and there are artificial sweeteners there,
Right.
right? So
Right. We
I
had a
think
we had a
that's
patient, I'll tell
really
you
Mhm.
this. We had a patient bring in the aloe drink. She says she wants to drink aloe because it's good for her gut, and that's what she read.
Yeah.
And the problem is this aloe drink had 1 cup of aloe drink had about 40 grams of sugar in there. I said, yeah, the aloe might be good for your gut, but the sugar is killing your pancreas. So it's one of those double-edged swords on what you really should be doing and what to really be watching out for as well. I always urge our
Mhm.
patients to bring in whatever they're trying or they're going to try, and I'll give a 30,000-foot view of looking over everything to see is it really good or is it something that's just a fad?
Right. And does it help to read the labels first?
Absolutely. You got to know how to read
Right.
the labels, right? And one of the shocking things that our patients didn't realize when I was showing one of them how to read a label is when you look at the ingredients, the ingredient that is most in that product is listed first. So if your sugary
Yeah.
drink and you list is high fructose corn syrup is number two, you got water and then high fructose corn syrup, there's a problem right there, you know?
All right. Okay. Well, definitely great tips, Dr. Tam, for managing diabetes. So, thank you again so much for all this information.
Thank you so much, Rocky.
All right.
Bye now.